Hi. I want to talk to you about reading strategies and what happens when you come upon, or your kiddo comes upon a word that is just unfamiliar and they just don't know it. There are two camps in reading, and I've mentioned it before, but maybe you don't remember. One of the camps is phonetic, and one of the camps is whole language. And I very much fall into the camp of teaching that you use the whole language, and phonics is just a tool. You will find other curriculums and teachers who have the phonetic approach, but phonics is just one tool. If I were to build a house and if I wanted to approach it with just a hammer, I wouldn't be very successful, right? I would probably find another tool that would work a little bit better. And the same is with phonics. So I want to talk to you about some of the ideas, some of the other strategies you might use when you're coming across a word that you don't know or your kiddo doesn't know. So I have a book here that is just for reference. Okay, so I'm going to read a sentence to you, and okay, I'm going to read a sentence to you, and then I'm going to tell you which word I'm struggling with. So it says, "All who want to cross the street may walk on my back," said the dinosaur. Okay, I'm going to pretend that street is where I'm hung up, okay? And if I come to street and I am not able to put those blends together, the ST and the STR, if I'm not able to do that phonetically, then I need to come up with another tool, another strategy for how to approach that word. I do think that most kids, because if they've gone to preschool, if they've done the pre-K thing, if they're in a traditional classroom, phonics is emphasized a lot. And it's emphasized a lot because each letter has a phoneme, each letter has a sound, and so it's really important. But I think that it is the number one tool that is tried, and I think it's the number one tool that is modeled. And then if you are working with volunteers, if you're in a classroom and you're working with volunteers, and those volunteers, what is the first thing that they're going to suggest? Sound it out. Sounding it out isn't always the best approach. So you come to street and you're not entirely sure what in the world street says. And here's my picture. I'm going to show you my picture so you can get an idea. So here's the dinosaur, and he's going to cross the street. So one of the things I might suggest to my reader, so my reader would have read, "All who want to cross the," and then we're stuck. Or whatever. And I didn't even say the right sound. It would be if I was sounding it out. Phonetically, it's not working. What other tools can you try? So when they're beginning readers, or if they are struggling readers, chances are they are still very heavily dependent on picture books. And that's a good thing. Pictures in this case are a tool. And so I might say, oh, look at the picture. And maybe that picture would be enough to realize, oh, street. Okay, street should be by that time in their vocabulary. So it's something they can access that they already know. One other thing I might say is, say the beginning sound. So I'm saying phonics are important, the phoneme is important, but I'm not relying on it to decode the entire word. So, okay, here we go, I'm the reader. All who want to cross the S may walk on my back. Okay, so he is saying S, he still doesn't have the word, that's okay. He's looked at the picture, maybe the combination of the beginning sound and the looking at the picture is a good thing and is enough to propel him forward to continue the sentence. Okay, great, that's fantastic, he did it. But what happens then if S isn't enough and we can't even figure it out? All I can think about is road. I'm the reader, all I can think about is road, and that doesn't start with S, I know that. Okay, can the reader skip it? Yes. Can you skip it? Sometimes when the reader skips the word entirely, it kind of kicks in the contextual reference to it, the context of the text, and then it just makes sense. Try that. I think you might be surprised. All who want to cross the may walk on my back. And when my reader is struggling with that and I say, skip that word, I want to pause. I want them to pause when they read it so that they know that something does go in there so that they can hear it, because they're constantly, your reader should be constantly reading but also listening to what they're sounding like so that they can identify if what they said doesn't sound right, doesn't make sense, so that they can start self-correcting. So, all who want to cross the may walk on my back. All who want to cross the street. Street, does it match the picture? Yes, and I always ask my reader, does it match the picture? Yes. Does it begin with S? Yes. Okay, now you might be thinking, that can take an awful long time. Yes. Yes, it can. And that's okay, because what's going to happen is you're going to be engaging with them so that they understand that they're not only one strategy to attack the unknown word. Oh, you can hear my kid on the background. There's not only one strategy to attack the unknown word, but you're engaging in that text in a meaningful way, okay? All who want to cross the street may walk on my back. Okay, now if your kiddo has approached it really choppily, like they have, phonics didn't work, looking at the picture didn't work, saying the beginning sound didn't work, really anytime you take away and it's not fluid, you want to encourage your reader to go back and start that sentence over so that they can read it fluidly. And I'm not saying fluently, but I'm saying fluidly, because what happens when I read like this, or your reader reads like this, all who want to cross the may walk on my back. And you notice I did all three strategies. I did phonics, I did first sound, and I skipped it all together. All of that takes work, and it takes time, and it is stretching, and it is, it's a lot of work for your reader. So do you think they're going to remember what they read at the beginning if they did all of that work? No, they're not. Okay, now that we have the word street, we're going to go back, we're going to read it again, and we're going to read it fluidly. And your fluid is not fluent. It might sound a little bit different than fluency, but it might be a little bit choppier, and that's okay. That's just where they are. All who want to cross the street, because I know that word now, may walk on my back. Oh, well, how did they get across the street? And now you can engage, you can ask that question to make sure, yes, they have it. Now we can move on, okay? Another thing, and it didn't work with the word street, but let's say you have the word, let's see if I have an example here. Let's say you have the word sand, and I don't have one, but you have the word sand, and I know, not right now in the text, but maybe at another time, I'm working with my reader on sight words and developing sight words. And the reason you want to work on sight words, and you really want to hit that hard, is because sight words are the most common words in English print. And they are sight because you need to know them by sight. You need to know them by sight. Okay, so we know that maybe and is one of the most, probably in the top 10, for sure within the top 20 of those words. So we know the word and. Now your reader comes across this and this text, and I'm just going to insert this word here. It's not going to make sense. Let's see. All who want to cross the sandbox, we'll just say that, sandbox, may walk on my back. Okay, now we've identified, we don't know the word sand, and we have done everything. We've done the sounding out, and my reader might not be, phonics might not be the best strategy for them. It might not be the best tool for them to use it because it's hard, it's choppy, it's not, it takes a lot of work, honestly, phonics. When you chop out every sound, it takes a lot of work. So there are ones that are more efficient. Okay, let's say the first sound. All who want to cross the sand, okay, looking at the picture, now I'm pretending there's a picture of a sandbox. I can't really tell what that is. It looks like dirt to me. Okay, that doesn't make sense. I can't get that word that way. Now I'm gonna skip it. All who want to cross the box may walk on my back. No, not triggering anything, not engaging anything that I already know. Okay, now I'm gonna look at the word, and do you know a word inside of that word? Sand, do you know a word? Now my reader, if they have been working on their sight words, might identify the word sand, and we use frame fingers, point your fingers. If your kiddo is not using fingers in their reading at this point, if they're a beginning reader, they should be, okay? So what I want you to do is you are now framing the word that you're stuck on, and I want you to take off, maybe your kiddo is taking off the S, and we're looking at, can you, with the S removed, identify the word and? Chances are, if it is a sight word and it's one of those ones that are now rote because you worked on it, oh, I see and, there it is, and right there. Okay, what happens when you add this to the beginning of the and? And that might be a question I ask to that student. What happens, and, put it together, and you're taking that first sound and that end word and you're now combining it. Okay, super choppy. It took a lot of work. And now you're going to encourage your reader to go back, start all over, and read it fluidly so that then it makes sense and they can keep on focusing on the comprehension piece. Okay, all who want to cross the sand box may walk on my back. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. One thing I want to encourage you to do when you are working with your reader, beginning reader or struggling reader, well, two things. One is you might be thinking, that was an awful lot of work to read 2 sentences. It is. It is. But when you are working side by side with your reader, that is when the work happens. That is when you're pushing them most. That is when you're introducing concept like this. We are not sitting down at a whiteboard, a chalkboard. We're not doing computer screens. We are in the book. We are in the text, and we are doing the work that way. I'm not talking to them. We are interacting with the text, and that's when all of those concepts are being introduced so that he can practice it here. But then we want to build that comfort level and that feeling of success by having him back up, do it again so that he can feel confident and successful, okay? When you are doing the side-by-side teaching and sitting and reading with your kiddo, that's when you're pushing a little bit more. That's when you're expecting just a little bit more. That's when you are saying you're doing that direct instruction. That is not when it should be easy. That book that you're working on should not be easy. It should be a little bit of a push. Okay. Now the easy part comes, the comfortable part comes, the period where they feel really successful is when they're doing independent reading. And I usually, when I'm setting up a lesson for the day, I usually start with the comfortable reading. It's kind of like a warm-up. I coach basketball when there's no pandemic. I coach basketball, and we always warm up first. We get our muscles ready, we do some stretching, we do some shooting, and of course my teenage boys, they want to shoot from the 3-point line. No, you don't shoot from the 3-point line. You need to shoot from right next to the basket and then work your way back so that your muscles aren't overextended. It's the same way with reading and in a lesson. So when you're starting a lesson, start with that warm-up of those comfortable books that your kiddo knows, they feel super successful with. Maybe they are memorized and they think they're reading, but you know that's just memorizing. Well, guess what? It is reading. Have them read those, and then you do the hard push, the hard work with the direct instruction, teaching those different strategies. Yeah, okay, so, and that's when the hard work happens. Pretty soon, this will become fluent enough that they can move it into the comfortable book box, and then you start over with a new text. So I hope that answers some questions. I am happy to email out that list of strategies to focus on so that it starts becoming a habit for you mamas who are teaching this, so that you know that there are more tools in that toolbox than just phonics. Okay, remember, phonics is just a tool. It's a good one, but it's just one tool. All right, happy reading. Please ask me more questions. I am an open book. All right, take care.